Nice night.
Here we go. We'll call a meeting of October 17th to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing for a moment of silence for those in harm's way and for those who serve and protect us. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a poll hearing that I understand is being rescheduled. Are you with Verizon?
I am.
Yeah. So you got all the info, you know that unless you got something new to bring to us, you know that we're going to reschedule it, correct?
So just told me that.
Alrighty.
No, not until November 7th.
As long as you get to bill Verizon for your night out, you're fine.
So we just need a motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
And seconded.
All in favor? Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Hope that wasn't too hard on you. Under correspondence, the student liaisons are both at a school committee meeting, so they won't be here tonight. We'll accept their written correspondence and the next meeting if they want to catch up with us. Certainly give them the opportunity. We have a donation from donations from the senior center. What do you got, Kevin?
We have a $100 donation to the senior center general donation account from the Kravitz family, and a $100 donation on behalf of Devin Kravitz from New England's or Central Mass Striders. And we also have a $2,000 donation from Country Bank to the senior center. And
That was it?
that's it.
Yeah, okay. What's your pleasure, folks?
Motion to accept all donations.
Second. To the chair, are all of these donations for the general fund?
Yep.
Okay.
None are restricted.
Senior center.
Senior
general
center,
fund.
Oh, that's what I meant.
That's what I meant,
Okay.
sure.
All right, yes.
Be clear.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Okay, under new business. Any resignations? Am I missing any?
Yeah, we have 2 resignations.
It's not saying hello to me. Daddy, help me. Oh, does it want to go? Thank you. So the first is from Sergeant Tebow. Very well. Okay, we'll do it this way. Yay. Slow tonight, is it me? It's just not moving.
I won't comment.
Yeah, that's. I'm on vacation. I'm out of here in the morning. You can tell. 1 foot out the door here. So from Sergeant Tebow, please be advised that I intend to retire from my present position at the Leicester Police Department on or about November 30th, 2016. At that time, it is my wish to be appointed as a special police officer for the town. Thank you, Jeffrey Tebow. Certainly, you've all known Jeff for a long time, and it's given the community an awful lot and above and beyond his assigned duties just by being part of the community. We need a motion, second.
I can move to accept it by grand acclamation, just to add a little punctuation under Robert's rules, just a little hoopla on top of it for all that he's done for the town.
We usually applaud afterwards. You can call it anything you want.
It's a procedure.
There's a motion, there's a second, and all in favor with grand whatever he wants.
Grand acclamation.
Yeah, I know.
Grand acclamation, okay.
Don't, yep, aye?
Aye.
Or yay? All opposed, thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Tebow.
Can you, Kevin, send him a thank you
Right.
when it's time, you know,
Done.
I would suspect that as we have with other long-term people, there is often his own organization will hold some kind of send-off, at which time we would be bringing appropriate plaque and those acclamations.
Through the chair,
Yes.
can we swap computers? 'Cause this one's working easily, and I'll get that one going.
Be happy to.
Send it down.
Thank you.
That way, no, take the mouse too. Let him take the mouse.
Wow, yeah, you're just gonna spoil me. Appreciate that.
Plug it in on the other side.
You know, I was just having too much fun.
Here we go.
Next thing you know, we're gonna use electricity. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Then we have, put it up here. I have from Allison Nadell, is with a heavy heart that I'm submitting my resignation for the community outreach position I currently hold. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity that has allowed me to obtain my associate social work license. This was key in my obtaining the position I accepted at the Center for Living and Working. My last day of employment will be Thursday, October 13th, 2016.
Motion to accept resignation and also send a letter of thanks for
Second.
Cheryl.
Any other discussion?
Will we be replacing that position?
I will advertise, yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Oh, I do like the mouse.
Makes it easier.
It just does. Now we gotta get caught up. Oop, there we go. Sorry about that, almost on here, folks.
Use the Zoom on this. Okay. No, that just brings it up.
Now we jumped ahead. All right, what, is that the only two resignations, or?
Yep.
I'm missing? Well, that's why I'm not missing one. Thank you. Then we have for appointments, none, and then the intermunicipal agreement, regional dispatching services amendment 2. Go ahead, Kevin.
So, the amendment that's in front of you does two primary things through the intermunicipal agreement with the City of Worcester for dispatching services. It extends the duration of amendment number 1 to December 31st, 2016, and I'll address that. The purpose for that extension is to ensure that we have the full amount of time that we need to have all systems up and operating. And it's also very conservative. I would anticipate that we would be transitioned over to the city no later than the first 2 weeks in November. But rather than burden the board's agenda with multiple additional amendments, we shot for a conservative date for the end of the year. And further, sufficient funds into play through the agreement for the City of Worcester to cover the cost of our dispatching services until the time that we do migrate over to the new dispatching center. I can update the board generally on the process with the transition, that we are making continued progress. But as we get down to these final items, it includes how we interconnect virtually and through our systems and processes with the City of Worcester. We need to obviously make sure that they are 100% up and operating and are properly functioning. So asking for the board's consideration with this, and it's my understanding the City Council will consider this amendment tomorrow night at their meeting.
Comments? Well, I have one. It's been too long and too hard. I mean, we're there and we're in, but for those that automatically jumped on the naysayer, thinking that Worcester could mess up a one-man parade, they were right. At the same time, the need and the practicality of running this overrules all of those by simply saying, you want to spend another $250,000 and lay off 3 more cops, or do you want to go with this? So we're between a rock and a hard place, but if I wasn't impressed before, I'm less now. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm just, Diane, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I just, discussions with Kevin about trying to get this online. It just seems the deadline keeps getting moved and moved, and I know Kevin's doing everything he can, so this maybe, as Doug kind of echoed, is part of the concern that people have with regionalizing services. So as we confront other issues, I think this is something we have to remember, that we are at the whim of a larger city when we connect, and as long as they're doing the best they can, that's all we can ask them to do. But it's something to note, and I'm glad Doug brought it up.
So I would need a motion to sign off and accept the
Motion
plan
made.
as proposed.
And seconded.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, through the chair, I discussed this with Kevin earlier today too, and I said, then why don't they just set a date for when, so that when they're ready, and they'll pick up the tab until then, and he said, well, they can't do it like that, but that's essentially what's happening. And that's what's frustrating. He said they've been working on this problem now every day, and the way I feel is if they were working on this problem every day from the very beginning, we'd already be there, my opinion.
Plenty of things I could pile on.
I know.
I said all I need to say.
I know.
Thanks. Learning somewhat contained in my
Yeah.
age. Motion was made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have the right of first refusal on the Green Street lot. We've got it to be signed, just,
That's a dispatch.
oh, the dispatch, okay.
It needs signed.
The right of first refusal, land of Kurt Gursky and Janice Eve Dale, lot number 2, Green Street in Leicester. To be official, I'll read, it's pretty short. Parcel ID 9589, Plan Book 908, Plan 23, 71114, Deed Reference Book 908, page 231, 2015. Dear board members, this letter will serve as notice under Mass General Laws, Chapter 61A, Section 14, that we intend to sell the lot number 2 set out in the attached survey. The request is made based upon a bona fide offer which has been accepted in the amount of $60,000. Should the town elect to exercise its right of refusal, we shall provide the appropriate information to an impartial appraiser at the town's request. Should the town elect not to exercise the right of refusal, would, I'm assuming you, please sign and have notarized the enclosed release of right of refusal. So what is the pleasure of the board? Or Kevin, do you need to give a summary?
Yeah, I could, if
Go ahead,
I will. So Chapter 61A is land that was designated for agricultural intent, and the property owner, since its designation, has received reduced tax obligations for that property. And now they wish to take it out of what's known as chapter land designation and use it for non-tax, reduced tax purposes. So a residential home is intended to be built in this lot. And with that comes the implication of repayment of the prior 5 years of taxes. So we'll do a look back, and before the sale goes through, the requirement will be made, since it's being taken out of chapter land, that they'll have to repay 5 years at full tax rate, make up that difference, and then the sale will go through. The Board of Selectmen through Chapter 61A has the right to execute first refusal, meaning that you could purchase the house for the bona fide offer amount and pay the property owner that amount. If you'd vote to do that tonight, then we'd have to seek funding from town meeting. We have consulted with all the appropriate offices and departments within the town seeking a municipal need for the lot, and none was found, so we would suggest that you do not exercise your right of first refusal and allow the private sale to go through.
And so, go ahead.
Motion to let the private sale go through.
Second.
And the motion is to decline to exercise the town of Leicester's first refusal option to meet the bona fide offer to purchase the land attached herein. So it's part of the offer.
Through the chair. So what year was the 61A implemented? Was it just 5 years ago and that's why they paid back 5 years, or
No, that's the state law.
state law?
Yeah, so it's a look back of the balance of the year that it was sold in and 4 previous years. Since we're right at the beginning of the new fiscal year, it'd be essentially 5.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Got it?
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. And then we have the vote on the special town meeting warrant articles. Go ahead, Ken.
And I may suggest that if the board would consider, as we go through, in the interest of time, consider assigning them as we go through, or they could all be done at the end. It's completely up to you. But we will go through each item. It's customary for the board to vote as to whether or not to support the motions as they are drafted at this point in time.
And for the assignments, what I would ask, is that we We'll hold off on the assignments of, you submit to Kristen if you're interested in a particular assignment, and then I'll go through and equally spread them out, rather than try to do that tonight and somebody ends up saying, I'm interested in this, that, and somebody else left out. So if there's a specific interest, I'll do like we do with assignments. I'll try to match it. There'll be a few that you don't get everything you want. That's called life. So Kevin, on each one, we're gonna just go on whether we recommend. And I would note that, I don't know if there's any they haven't voted, but we'll start Article 1, and we'll note the Finance Advisory Board's recommendation where it's been done, and I think they're mostly or all done.
I have not received notice.
Okay.
No, I didn't see him in there.
They are meeting tonight at 7:30 to,
Okay.
I believe, make those decisions.
All right. So, Article 1, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money in order to pay bills from prior fiscal years or take any action thereof.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 2, see what compensation the town will vote to pay elected officials.
Motion to approve.
And the motion is for a total of $56,000. That's related to
Town
more
clerk.
than just town clerk and what else?
That's it.
Oh, that's it, I'm sorry, thank you. I don't want people thinking we're just.
That's not to raise or
more money
pay,
for the
that's
rest of
not
us.
to raise or pay 56,000
It's to
more.
adjust it to that figure, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
But not
Made and seconded.
grabbing a bunch of other monies. Motion was made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds in the treasury or transfer from other budget accounts or adjust budgets or borrow under the provisions of Chapter 44 as amended, such sums of money as may be necessary to defray the expenses and fund various and diverse accounts in fiscal year 2017 operating budget of the town.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
And this is to raise and appropriate by taxation $40,596 and adjust the following budgets to defray the expenses. Reduce the school department budget by $26,000, reduce the temporary loan interest by $550, and appropriate $40,596 to maturing debt interest. And, God, if I saw the list, I would have decided this. Transfer from $1,000 from the treasurer, transfer $25,000 from maturing debt principal, transfer $26,991 from employee benefit account, transfer $24,500 from employee benefit account, and transfer $128,195 from ambulance receipts. Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, so voted. We'll leave the description to Kevin later, whoever's reading the article. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum of money as may be necessary to adjust the account established for folk tuition expenses. The amount of transfer $18,009 from free cash, and, is that it? Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Just,
Yep.
if I may, free cash was certified today in the amount of $1,198,687.
All right. Good job, town budget folks that have not spent everything they could. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise it.
You didn't vote.
Made and seconded on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, so voted. Because Kevin just jumped right in. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of money as may be necessary to repair and/or purchase replacement compacting equipment used at the town recycling center.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
In the motion, it'll be up to $8,500 from taxation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into tax agreements pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 38H, with the leasing operators of solar, photovoltaic, energy generating facilities, or its successors assigned for a period up to 20 years, and so on with the legal stuff.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
Any other discussion, questions? I know I'm speed reading here, so if there is questions, just
No, that's
yell.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 7, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire the land and/or rights in land, including but not limited to permanent and temporary easements on Rawson Street and adjacent to Rawson Street required for the reconstruction of the Rawson Street Bridge, yay, and the roadway, that was not yay, obviously, and the roadway abutting the bridge for the purpose of obtaining a secure and public right-of-way.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 8, see the town vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds a sum of money to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to fund the cost associated with the development of specifications and procurement documents for the selection of a developer for solar electricity development at the town closed landfill.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In the discussion, this is a $9,000 article, by the way. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 9, see if the town will vote to supplement each prior vote of the town that authorizes the borrowing of money to pay capital costs so as to permit, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of MGL, the application of any net premiums received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes therein to pay project costs and thereby reduce the amount authorized to be borrowed, and so on.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Alrighty. Is that all of them? Pretty good, down to 8, 9.
9.
Take it. I jumped it right with your little mouse. That's all you need from us on those? All right, so again, if you have a personal interest in a particular article, please submit to Kristen. I'm going to reach out to Kristen on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and whatever you don't say, I'll just do, or flip a coin. All right? Thank you. So next would be the fire and EMS headquarter change order. Kevin, and guests?
So if I could just provide the board with a little context, and we can get into any details or questions you may have. If I could have you move to what is in your board packets with page 2 for this section, which is a small spreadsheet that outlines the cost of the project. When we went into came out of the final construction documents, the final phase of the design process for this building, we had an estimate from the cost estimator that the project would likely, based on most recent similar bids throughout the state and in the region, come in at roughly $5,200,000 when it went out on the street. We were fortunate at that time that the bids did not come in at $5.2 million, they came in at $4.5 million. However, during that design process that we went through that concluded in early May, the committee worked hard through 3 different estimating phases after the design documents were done and after the initial schematic design was done. In each one of those phases, they pulled scope out of the project. We originally started at a construction design number that was well over $6 million at schematic design, which is the first design phase of the project. So the committee pulled things out, and they thought they put enough out, but once we got to the end of the design documents phase, or phase 2, we were still over budget, so they pulled additional things back and finally agreed that even though we had a $5.5 million project, it was most comfortable to go out to bid with a project estimate of $5.2 million from our project estimate. Again, we were fortunate that through the competitive bidding process that we went through, we received a number of trade and general contractors bid and settled on a final number with Building Systems Incorporated of $4,531,020. So in order to provide the most appropriate building for the next 80 to 100 years, as we reported at the town meeting. We thought it was prudent at that time for the committee to go back and reconsider that scope that had been pulled out throughout those design phases. So what comes before you tonight is the work of the diligence of that committee and reviewing several price estimates to restore some of the scope of that project. They've received a lot of numbers, gone through a lot of iterations in the design phase of just these RFPs and totaling together for change order number 1, which will be presented. There was some flexibility, as I included in my cover memo to the board tonight, to, if I can skip back up to my memo, include in change order number 1 everything that would be RFP 1 through 5. And then discuss RFP number 7, which is also critical to moving the project forward at this time. So the update for RFP number 7 tonight, which is a sub-base material prep change order, we're estimating that at this point to be $15,000. So if I add the $15,000 onto what had been previously presented through the memo, we are going to ask the board to consider total changes for 6 RFPs, 6 different segments for change order number 1. And I didn't know, Sandy, or if anyone else in the building committee wanted to go through the details of those changes.
Please. Yes.
Sure.
As we did the last, ended the architect's contract to design the additional scope to the point that they could go to the general contractor. They're the same ones we talked about before with one that we had. So the first one is the training tower. The quote for that is $201,000. And we worked hard with them. The original quote came in like way north of 300. So we worked with them to make sure that it was exactly what we needed with no extra fills. So
Sandy, we have, at least on our computer, 211 full 99.
Yeah, so the other $10,000 is for the owner's project manager, additional costs related to that. So the total all-in number, which I'll get to at the end, Sandy's just talking about the actual construction.
I just don't want
But,
people to think
I'll circle it back
otherwise,
up.
you know, so go ahead. Thank you.
So I'll give you just what we got from,
Yeah.
for the contract, the general contractor's contract that will
Right.
be changed.
And if Kevin, if you have a difference, if you pile in right at the right time, just so we don't try to.
Yep.
Transparency, number 1 here.
Yep.
Go ahead, thanks.
So that's the training tower. The second one was upgrading the vinyl siding to fiber cement. That quote is $15,000. And that's for durability, as we discussed before, the durability and the looks of the building. The third RFP is upgrading the tile floor in the bathrooms on the public entrance, and that's also for durability and maintenance. That is $3,669. Expanding the concrete apron another 3 feet, that is $6,423, and that's to preserve the driveway and the entrance to the apparatus bay to support the trucks when they're backing in, because if they go over pavement, the tires tend to wear out the pavement, but they don't wear out the concrete. So extending it the extra 3 feet helps that a lot. Additional tree removal, that was $1,053, and that was due to, as we went and created the driveway to Main Street as well as along Paxton Street, it became clear that a couple more trees had to come down than what we had before, had noted before. And then RFP 7 is the additional sub-base prep, and that's estimated at $15,000. And that came about as they did, as they got down and started clearing the lot, we found that we need a little bit more gravel and rock base in certain areas, and so we need, before they can build, to put much more do much more. We need to get that base firmed up so that things don't move and that the water will drain appropriately for stormwater management. So the total is $242,145. We still have a contingency of well over $300,000 at approximately 7%, so we're still, which is really good for this phase of a construction contract.
Kevin, anything else?
Yeah, so in total, through change order number 1 to, for the entire project cost, we were asking the board to consider $252,644 worth of changes. Again, we'll be adding into the owner's project manager, part of that contract, another $10,000 as well. And I just wanted to touch on the last point also, beyond that, how we've laid everything out in that spreadsheet that I was referring to before. So everything that we have for the project, for known areas, known cost areas, whether they've been estimated, we've actually received quotes, or we've actually entered into final agreements or spent funds, are included on this spreadsheet. It is a snapshot as of tonight. I would need to add in the $15,000 for number 7. But we are still under budget for the project. The total project, as it stands, does provide us with a significant contingency of just over $321,000, which is 6.5% of the total construction cost. So we could have actually went the whole way through the bidding phase, and if we would have received higher numbers, we could be at this point without a project contingency. So, we're very pleased. I know the committee's pleased from their vote the other night to ask for your approval for these change orders and still have a very healthy amount of money left in the contingency. Hopefully that contingency is not needed and it won't have to be borrowed. It can be turned back at the end of the project.
Through the chair?
Yep, go ahead, Tom. Sandy, right before Tom, did you have anything else? I don't know.
No, just in case there's any questions.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, I mean, I can understand coming in with upgrades. I think that's good, okay, especially seeing they come in so far in the budget. Now, Kevin, you said that an additional $10,000 for the project manager?
That's correct.
Okay, now, is there a reason for that?
Just the additional oversight of the construction of the tower.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's why it's costing an additional $10,000 for the project manager.
That's right.
Okay.
Anyone else? Sandy, you've answered and others have answered. I think I originally went to Chief Wilson. But just for the neighbors, this is not a burn tower.
Correct.
So whether you or the chief want to explain, what are you doing with the tower?
This is primarily for ladder and for ladder training, as well as rescue, internal, out the door, out the window, and down the stair type training for both the firefighters and the EMS personnel. If they may throw some water through the windows, it will drain appropriately, but because it is attached to the building, it can't be a burn building. A burn building, it's not going to be like the one on West Street in Auburn.
No, that's right, and I just want to make sure we address that publicly to ease any concerns. Anybody else for any of our committee, Kevin? All right, then we need a motion to...
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. It's 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have, under discussion of old business, the FY18 budget priorities.
Included in your binder tonight is a calendar for the budget, so I just wanted to touch on that real quick. We do have a meeting that is scheduled for this Wednesday with the Finance Advisory Committee and the School Committee for the FY18 budget kickoff meeting. And at that meeting, we will go over the general revenue assumptions that we'll use to start the FY18 budget, which will officially kick that season off and run us through next May's town meeting. So it's customary that this board has at least informal discussion, if anything else beyond the goals that you set in a couple meetings ago for me, as we include in the budget preparation. If you want to let me know any priorities or any things like that you'd like to see in our discussion tomorrow evening as we begin to prepare the budget, I just wanted to provide the opportunity to do so.
Any comments, questions? All right. Moving on, discussion regarding the Mass Pike interchange at Route 56. Kevin?
During the board's discussion at the last meeting, I was asked to put this item on the agenda because there were a few comments that were made related to it. We have kind of dusted off a section of, which is Appendix B to the 2011 Worcester Regional Mobility Study that kind of narrows in on the preferred recommended solution for an interchange if there would be one. That section of the interchange kind of went through and provided a best case scenario, as I would call it, for the development potential in the area should an interchange go in, and what type of burdens that interchange would put on the roadways because of the economic improvements related to the interchange. So we've had this discussion as a board, most recently when we looked at the changes that we were trying to influence with the Worcester Regional Airport. At that time, we had the conversation with CMRPC that while the development range is between 1.7 and 3.5 million square feet of development, that certainly is significant, but dollar for dollar, if you look at the taxes that would be raised from that and the cost of an interchange, it wouldn't fund it. No, that's not the litmus test as to whether to have the interchange or not, but it's just a discussion point. So we can discuss the full mobility study or this appendix, but I just wanted to provide a little context to the conversation.
And Kevin, this would, geographically, it starts at least, and most of it would be in the town of Oxford.
That's right.
So have you reached out to that town administrator, had any discussions?
Not at this point.
All right, so regardless of where we're going, just the fact that we're having discussions in a public meeting, can you imagine if you're sitting as a member of the Board of Selectmen in Oxford, and again, these discussions happened 6, 8 years ago, but now you've changed, all of a sudden you read Leicester's doing what, and by the way, it's in Oxford. So I would, without making any commitments, ask the board that we direct Kevin to reach out to the town administrator in Oxford, just to have the at least preliminary discussion, so he may update his Board of Selectmen, and just so we don't start a process by stepping on toes or doing what is really proper to do, is to reach out to the body. I mean, we're interested from our own economic development, and to certain degrees, and those things can be discussed, but since we're discussing them, I think we ought to be reaching out to Oxford.
Absolutely.
Everybody okay with that? Is there any objection to that?
Through the chair. Okay, I don't have a problem with reaching out to Oxford. I mean, especially since the property is where the interchange is in Oxford. Okay, I totally agree with that. In looking at the information that's here, and I did discuss a little bit with Kevin, and I know that we've had discussions go back several years ago.
That's right.
Okay, about this, and based on that 2011 report. Okay, and I guess the reason why I brought it up is because, I mean, we're still in the same situation that we were in before, and we're still spinning wheels, and so we definitely should reach out to Oxford and get some input from them, that's for sure. Okay, but it could be just possible that the needs based on that study have changed for the city as well as the towns. And I say towns, plural, okay, based on everything else. Okay, but I mean, I understand the dollar that you're talking about, and I know it's not our property to do anything with, but might be an opportunity, that's all.
Yeah.
That's why it was brought up.
I agree. So Kevin, you're just going to reach out and, again, maybe we can have some discussions. If it's going to go any further, we can create a subcommittee with this board and their board if there's interest, and if it looks like it's got any traction at all, because it has in the past. There are definitely, and there's an economic development committee meeting coming up towards the end of this month, and or early next month, but anyway, soon. And, again, those would be topics of conversation. Thank you. Next, we have recreational marijuana ordinance. Go ahead.
Okay, so through our alliance, or the Worcester Regional Public Health Alliance that the town is a part of with 6 other communities, the staff has shared with the town a draft ordinance that the Worcester City Council is considering relative to smoking and the consumption of marijuana or any other drug in a public place. And this really is, in a way, being preemptive or proactive, however you look at it, to the upcoming ballot question 4 and what may happen if marijuana becomes a legal substance for recreational use, and or how medical marijuana may be consumed and where it may be consumed. So I have reviewed as best I could the information that both the city has proposed and bring it to you for discussion. I've also reviewed the information that went out to voters on ballot question number 4. The major change or the major difference that I see between what the state is offering and what would come through a state law if ballot question 4 was approved and what's in the city's ordinance really comes down to the enforcement mechanisms underneath a violation of their proposed ordinance, which prohibits smoking or consumption in any public place. Now, ballot question 4 also provides that protection under the law, but it only provides a civil penalty for doing so. The proposed Worcester ordinance provides a criminal penalty for doing so. And since we have a similar bylaw under non-criminal disposition that allows the criminal enforcement of certain infractions, we would have that opportunity to craft a similar bylaw, obviously once it went through our total town council. So I've had a couple discussions with board members about this today, and I know that last part about how it may be criminally enforced is new. I was able to speak with the chief of police and get his thoughts on it, so that's where that comes to play. So it does seem like there's more stringent enforcement powers that are provided through the Worcester ordinance. Obviously, it would still have to go to the state's attorney general for a final approval, and our town council would have to approve ours if we wanted to present it something similar to a town meeting. But I just wanted to bring this forward and have you start to think about it. If you want to have any conversations about it, that's certainly fine, and we could do so tonight. But it's something that we may want to do in the near future as these changes are coming forward at the state level.
Okay. Comments?
Nope.
Not good to be on top of it. I think when we tried to do wind power, there were some issues about, but we didn't have a bylaw at the time, so it's going to be on top of it in advance.
Yeah, I guess we've got a little ways to go, and I would suggest that in addition, if the ballot question passes, that before we adopt rules and regs, we not only check, as you said you would, with the Attorney General, but have a public hearing or two of our own, get some public input. Because in one way, I don't know that it's going to pass, but if it does pass, I'm not sure that then we're able to sort of circumvent the intention of making it legal while we're making it criminal. And there's got to be some fine lines in there, and I don't want to pay lawyers to figure it out. So I would suggest it's all good to be proactive, but that we also, whatever we do, have some public input. Next, on the water districts, I know there are members, at least 2 of the districts here. I will tell you that from the chairman's point of view, I put this on the agenda because we had not only numerous calls, there's been a lot of chatter on the various, as George Bush would call it, internets, but that in fact there are areas of concern here that are serious, and we need to know within our bounds of where we should be or not. So this is on for a general discussion on the issues. Be clear, we should be clear to the public, we have no jurisdiction over any water district.
None.
This is the same as us telling Spencer or Oxford what they should or shouldn't do. They are separate elected bodies. They have their own legislative approved sort of government, for lack of a better term, that's what they are. And so they have their own enabling powers and their own town version of a town meeting, their district meetings, and they elect their own officials. So having said that, and without implying that we have any authority to do anything with the water districts, Kevin, you want to start us off, or you want to just, I can go right down the line, depending on where concerned.
I would defer, any comments to, the superintendent, Mike Knox, who's here, as far as a general overview. But I will tell, the board, which we've discussed in the past, that we have at least tried to do our best to support the district in its trying time and be a partner with, the state and local entities to make their emergency interconnection and long-term plans as viable as possible.
Michael, do you want to address?
This is what...
Michael, I saw the size of that. I got a 5 a.m. flight.
That'll make good
I don't
reading.
intend to talk about the whole thing. What my intent was just to distribute what was
Thank you.
presented at the public information.
Thank you.
Yeah, one too.
Go ahead, please, Mike.
Superintendent of the Cherry Valley and Rochester Water District. I thank the Board of Selectmen and the Town Administrator for the opportunity to discuss the water district, pending water district issues with the board. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that Kevin Misikar, Harry Brooks, Michael Shivik, and as well as Tom Buckley. Tom Buckley called me prior to the meeting, but Michael and Harry and Kevin attended the public hearing, and the district and the Board of Water Commission certainly appreciated them being there this past Thursday. As I said, and I'll repeat it today, the purpose of the public informational meeting was to present the district's issues moving forward, what we're dealing with water issues presently, and what we'll be dealing with water issues in the future. We were eager to present the project and all the particulars of the project. We were just as eager to receive feedback from the people that attended that evening. And I opened my presentation today in the same manner, looking for, eager to hear some of the comments from the Board of Selectmen. As I stated, it is not my intention to go through this evening. I think I started buckling knees around 2 hours and 50 minutes into the presentation last Thursday evening, so I don't intend to make all of you go through that with me tonight. In summary, has been dealing with a water quality issue and received an administrative consent order issued by the Mass DEP in 2012. In 2012, the district, looking for a solution and a resolution presented to Mass DEP addressing the provisions of the ACO, look towards new technology to solve the problems. And the specific problem cited in the administrative consent order was a violation of disinfectant byproduct rule, specifically a test known as total trihalomethane. The formation of total trihalomethane in the distribution system is a result of the disinfectant chlorine interacting with the natural organics found in the surface water supply. Natural organics are derived from the decomposition of basically plant life, leaves, the type of water growth that you have, and so on and so forth. And over the years, these natural decomposition, will give off what they refer to tannins. Tannins is the major component that reacts with the chlorine disinfectant to causing the trihallomethanes. Other supporting natural support is we are upstream. The reservoir has an upstream wetlands and an upstream bog, peat bog. So the combination of all these natural characteristics are the results of the natural organic loading. So in order to remove this organic loading, it takes specialized treatment. Again, we looked at some new technology to solve that issue, and we did significant amount of research before we presented to the voters in 2012 what was referred to as a $3.5 million capital improvement program, which was primarily the construction of a new treatment facility or an additional treatment process added onto the existing treatment facility is more correct. We currently operate a surface infiltration system for the surface water supply at Henshaw Pond. This new technology would have been placed before the water would run the pond water through this system prior to the filters, and then the filters would have been proceeded to do what they're designed to do, and then would have been delivered to the system. Again, we looked at, did some significant research. We actually did an on-site visit of a water supply treatment facility in Newport, Maine. The reason why we traveled to Newport, Maine is that that was one of the facilities that closely mirrored both the water quality statistics of Henshaw Pond and mirrored the capacity that we currently serve to the district daily demand. And they also, and just as importantly, they also operate a slow sand filtration plant. Our site visit research indicated that they had successfully constructed the new technology, which is called MyX, and we felt very, very confident after, again, researching this system, a site visit, that this, in fact, because of the similar water quality characteristics, operation characteristics, that this would be certainly the solution for the Great Valley and Rochdale Water District. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The system didn't meet the standards the standards of the goals of the pilot study, and it didn't meet the standards and the goals that we had presented to Mass DEP. In short, this technology was not approved by DEP. The district then has spent, since 2012 to present day, looking at other possible solutions to the supply problem, the source problem. That included discussions with the in-town districts. That also included discussions with the town and both the town administrator as well as the Moose Hill Water Commissioners, as possible sharing some costs in the development of Moose Hill supply. Again, we also looked at our own resources in that we had previous studies that looked at different sites as potential water supplies. We went back and reevaluated those supplies and those sites. And one of the other types of solutions that we looked at was the actual construction of what is termed as a conventional treatment plant. In all cases, very simply stated, either we had the cost-benefit analysis didn't make sense for a customer base of 231 services, 231 accounts. So the cost-benefit analysis didn't work. The sources themselves didn't have the quantity. And in the case of the treatment plant, the conventional treatment plant, that was a $9 million capital project, and would require somewhere in the vicinity of 15 to 20 acres as a footprint, of which the district didn't have readily available 15 to 20 acres conveniently to construct something that would make it sensible to develop. And again, we get back to $9 million, and that cost being shared by 1,231 accounts. So again, that was discounted. In the final analysis, looking at all our options, the last option available to the district was to work with the city of Worcester to develop a long-term contract and a long-term purchase of water from the city of Worcester, making us a full-time customer from the date of activation and moving forward. The conditions of the contract simply do not basically pigeonhole us as being a customer for life. If there's a possibility, like moving forward, for example, the shared cost of development of Moose Hill, that certainly could be addressed by the district, and participation could occur. And at some point in time, if that was successful, there's provisions in the Worcester contract that we can, under mutual agreement, terminate the permanent portion of the contract and default to an emergency connection or redundancy connection, which in long term is good planning and water supply planning, or any planning. When you have redundancy, that's a good way to look at it or plan for it. So again, the contract, the capital proposal for the permanent interconnection with the City of Worcester is a 1.9 capital commitment. It includes the construction of the permanent interconnection, permanent water line, which will begin at the intersection. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Goddard Drive and Apricot Street in Worcester. At that intersection, in the, I would say, the northeast corner of that intersection is a brick structure there. Well, that's actually the City of Worcester pumping station. The interconnection would originate at that pumping station, and then a 8-inch diameter pipe would be constructed the length of Apricot Street to the town line, where a vault would be constructed, which would include a master meter and a solenoid valve for automation, so the district wouldn't rely on what we're doing right now. An emergency situation is the manual operation of the interconnection. So automation would be available. The other portions of the capital improvement, of the capital expenditure, includes the installation of an aeration system in the airport water storage tank located in Worcester. As I said earlier, our problem is the source water and the organics. The City of Worcester's, all of their supplies are surface water supplies, but they have a, invested money probably 20 years ago, and maybe longer than that, maybe 30 years now, in a water treatment plant facility that removes the organics and frees them of this problem. However, the age of the distribution system contributes to organics still remaining in the mains, and there's still always this possibility of the THM occurrence. And there have been some occurrences in the city, not as repetitive as we've seen in the Cherry Valley district, but they do have these occurrences. The reason for the aeration system, furnishing and installing the aeration system in the city's water storage tank, is that the aeration system, as it is to be designed, will operate to reduce what they call the age of the water. Age of the water is another component of formation of TTHMs. So to enhance the supply, their supply that we'll be relying on, is we felt as though it was a significant investment if we could install that type of system in their facilities to reduce the age and therefore reduce the possibility of the future formation of TTHMs of the water delivered to the district. Another component of the capital improvement is automation. As I said, we'll operate a solenoid valve at that site. It'll be tied into the district's current SCADA system, which is a supervisory computer software that supervises and monitors the entire operation of our district. This valve will be tied into that, so it'll be tied into the tank elevations of the district. So the valve will open and close on demand when the tanks are required to refill. The last portion of the contract is the purchase, furnish, and installation of new metering system, new individual residential meters and commercial meters. The contract states that we will pay, currently we'll pay the City of Worcester $3.86 per 100 cubic feet of water that we purchase from the City of Worcester. That will be measured at that master meter. The district, the commissions feel it's very important that the current metering system that we have is reaching its life expectancy, and it's very important that we have accurate metering in place when this system is back online or comes online. The other options that the new metering system offers to the district and to its customers is that it has software or designed in a manner where the customer actually can be signed up, or they can have access to their own customer portal where they can actually monitor their daily water consumption, so they can actually manage their water use more efficiently. And as a public relations or a problem-solving tool, that same feature is available to the district staff, so if a customer called up with a high water bill or some other problem, both the customer and the district staff are looking at the same information. And the information is current as 24 hours, a 24-hour delay. So we can look at yesterday's consumption today, and that's as close as accurate, or as near as accurate. It's not real time, but that is as near as we can get the accuracy to it. The other features of the new system, water conservation is going to be very important at this particular point in time due to the costs that we're being charged. And I'm not saying that it's outrageous, but again, you have to be prudent and how you do this. But the other system will give us alerts such as leaks in the home. It'll give us alerts as to if the customer's history goes out of range. We can establish high and low ranges, and if it goes out of the range, then we can alert the customer in both cases of potential leak in their home and this out of range warning as well. And again, these are some of the main features that we look at as a tool. There's other features associated with the new metering system, and again, we look at it as it's a tool for the district employees to assist the customers and better have a better handle on the daily consumption and a better handle on long-term conservation for the district. Now that's the long-term issue. What also is present is that we were on October 7th, Mass DEP issued a declaration of water emergency, which basically allowed the activation of the interconnection with the city of Worcester on Apricot. On October 7th it was activated. On October 7th, half the district was operated off the interconnection, the other half of the district, so be specific here, the Cherry Valley section service area was operated off the interconnection. The Rochdale-Oxford service area was operated off of Henshaw Pond. The reason at that particular point in time the operation went defaulted to that is that we have been tracking all since January of 2016 the water elevations in Henshaw Pond, and more importantly been more actively monitoring them right up through this whole drought situation that we're currently in. As of October 6th, we had approximately 11 inches of water above our impact intake. We were, the trend of the water depletion, or the elevation depletion of Henshaw Pond, the average trend was about half a inch per day. So at 11 inches, we were 5.5, 6, 7 days before we ran out, running the whole system off that intake, or our own source. What we attempted to do was to split the source, as I said, half off the emergency connection, half off of our own source, that would allow us the time to construct a booster station on site down at 148 Henshaw Street. We started the construction of the booster station on the 7th of October, and we completed the construction of the booster station on the 13th. Booster station meant that we rented a pump. We rented a Eagle storage facility. The work was done by all local excavation, and electrical work was done by local contractors. We had to have 3-phase installed into the container to operate the pump. Once that was done, we were able to use the interconnection, the emergency interconnection, to supply the whole district off the interconnection. The reason for the booster pump is the early investigations we did in January indicated that the interconnection on its own could not meet the demand and fill the standpipes of the district. We had to have some other means, mechanical means to do that. After analysis and hydraulic modeling that our engineers performed, it was determined that we could install a booster pump at the water treatment plant location and then turn around and be able to boost the water to the Rochdale-Oxford service area, meeting the demand and refilling the storage tank in that particular area. So currently, as of the 14th of October, we are completely on the Worcester interconnection with this emergency declaration. We've worked and have been working for, again, we've been working with the City of Worcester since 2012. Since all of this came about, looking at all our options available, City of Worcester's been very helpful, and we have a history of working cooperatively on water issues. The 18th of this month, the City Council will receive a letter from Commissioner Musi outlining the emergency and the activation of the emergency connection, and also mentioning that in November, the City Council will receive the draft contract, or the contract, that hopefully will be executed between the city and the district to allow the permanent purchase of water in the future. So that's a summary.
We got it. I'm glad that's a summary. I know that, please stick around, we may have questions to follow up, but Lucky, you had some questions regarding water issues or it doesn't have to be Cherry Valley, we're talking about water issues. So if you want to swap off on that one,
sure.
if we have follow-ups, we will do that.
Sure.
Just a formal introduction, if you would like.
Yeah, Leonard Madidona, a member of the Leicester Water Commission, basically here speaking on my own tonight for myself. I've always praised this department, the Selectmen, for being very transparent. And I've listened to numerous recordings of your previous Selectmen's meeting, and not once have you stated that you are going to consolidate the town. Yet, through the public media, you appointed a liaison, which I'm assuming must be having meetings with you people. So I'm assuming, and I know the public is assuming, because I've been getting numerous calls, that you're having backdoor meetings. Stated here, Mr. Shivik is the liaison to the Leicester Water Department. Is that true? Or the liaison to all the water districts?
Do we have a water liaison?
Yes,
I don't have a list in front of me, so I don't want to
So
assume.
if that's true, why haven't we seen him at any of our water meetings in Leicester? He hasn't been there. We've been there since, we've had 3 meetings since July. Harry Brooks has showed up at one of our meetings. Town administrators have showed up at one of my meetings. But we haven't seen this liaison, our liaison. Again, on public media, you people have stated that you're not behind a consolidation. However, he states the board wants to consolidate the districts. This move by the Cherry Valley Water Department is an emergency situation. We understand that. We feel bad that Mike has to go through all this. It's tough. It's tough explaining it to his customers. Then, further on, he states to reply to one of the statements that's not necessarily true. The town administrator is working diligently under the goals set by the Board of Selectmen, you people right there, to prioritize consolidation. Again, I've gone through all your meetings. I've never seen you guys authorize Kevin to consolidate. It can't be done. I think it's been explained at this board. But if he's going to be putting this rhetoric on social media, he's not only disturbing the water departments, he's not only poking eyes in the water department's face, which means people are going to get upset, he's upsetting the whole town. If he's going to be a liaison, it's totally wrong to be putting misrepresentation in here.
Okay.
I personally ask that he's removed as a liaison, but he can't be putting the town's liability on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay there for a minute, Tom. We feel will be fit to Michael, but first let me, from the chair, I'll address a few issues. Certainly, I think a lot of us got a lot of calls as these things went out on a page that I think is misleading by title, but the reality is it is not a town page. So let's be clear, that's not the town of Leicester's page.
He's representing you, Doug.
Understood it? Let me talk, don't interrupt. So I get that, and that concerns me because people assume, even if there's a disclaimer somewhere after 50, items, it doesn't really help much. So I get that part. I've explained to the people who reached out to me that I am concerned, but that is not an official page. As far as I am comfortable in saying I don't believe there's any illegal or wrong meetings taking place, but I am concerned that one member would, in essence, give a position of this board that it hasn't taken or meeting on. But there is one piece I would say maybe where the misunderstandings begin and hopefully end tonight. I talked to Tom Brennan back when we were on the Cherry Valley Sewer District together, and that's over 30 years ago. So I will say that, has it always been in a perfect world a dream to have one total Leicester water sewer? Yeah. But you are correct in saying that that goes from a dream and a discussion with probably each board that comes up as it changes to is there any activity? And the second part is that during the development of goals and during the evaluation for the town administrator, was that brought up as something that people would like to see looked at? That's different than making a commitment to consolidate the districts. So although I will agree with the sentiments that you gave, because I think that's how people perceive them, I will, as chair, address first to Mr. Shivik as a member of the board. I've tried to, in 2 out of, I think, the 3 meetings that we've had, 3 out of 4, but anyway, on most of our meetings since you've come on, to ask you to look at the policies and procedures of the board and to respect the fact that when you are speaking, it can be assumed, correctly or not, that you are speaking for the board when in fact you're speaking as an individual. And those are things that I have said when I was a new member, being careful doing shows on LCAC, to sitting on this board. We need to be clear when we speak at public meetings that if we are speaking as individuals, that's great. If we're speaking as a member of the board, it has to be with the consensus of the board of what board action is taken. So those are the couple of pieces, but I think it's fair, first of all, let Michael address.
Let me finish.
Some of this is brought up. Go ahead.
Some of this is brought up, not coming out of Mike's mouth, but spawned on this public media. That Leicester Water Department is holding up all the consolidation. That's a downright falsification, because there's no consolidation. But yet, Mr. Civic finds it upon himself to speak for you board members that Leicester Water Department is holding up consolidation. We all know each water department is an individual entity, privately owned, and as Mr. Belanger stated earlier, we vote on our own districts. We're here to represent our districts and our districts only. Yet, he presumes to say and cause all this rhetoric on here. I've been calls all weekend long, all week since this stuff's been put up. Why aren't we going to consolidate and help Cherry Valley out? That's not the issue. You people know it ain't there, but Mr. Shivik doesn't seem to understand that. We can't consolidate. Again, speaking for myself, but also my board members did mention, we do not want him as our representative, our liaison. Not when he puts out falsified information. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shivik.
Well, Mr. Mahidana, if you can just remain there, please. I appreciate your rhetoric here at this meeting and your concerns regarding your organization in regards to my comments on social media. I will say, though, that you never reached out to me once. You just kind of showed up at this meeting.
It's not my job to reach out to you.
That's fine. That's fine. If there was some kind of an issue of definition, it wasn't resolved. This looks like it's something, a pushback, and there's some serious water problems in town. To say that they can't consolidate, I'm not sure if that's an accurate statement either. It may be an accurate statement, Mr. Margadata. I have not been to your meeting, as I relied on Mr. Mizikar, who has kept me abreast of all of the goings-on at your meetings that he's attended to. And in the last meeting, it seemed that there was an issue where there may have been some kind of resistance to working with the town.
But that's not what he stated here. It was put out as we refuse to consolidate. Mm-hmm. Kevin, you were at that meeting. We did not like the terms written in something to be done on a study committee. Nothing to do with consolidation. Kevin never brought up consolidation.
Well, there's a serious problem in town with water, and I know that you're aware of it, and I'm sure that you are the preeminent individual from your board. You say you're not here from your board, you're here for yourself, so I appreciate that you're not binding your own board, and these are your own personal observations. If there's an error there, I regret that. But at the same time, I believe that being a strong advocate for our town, and it can be difficult with First Amendment political speech, not being viewed. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, when I'm out speaking for myself, it's my position that the consolidation of the town and the acquisition of Moose Hill as a water drinking resource should be a #1 priority in this town. And I know that you're in Leicester, in your own little fiefdom, but in Cherry Valley, Rochdale, which maybe someone's across the street from you that has these problems, there's bad drinking water, not enough drinking water. And it's my understanding that there's real big problems with the Leicester water infrastructure. And
I didn't know what the other problems were if you attended your meetings as appointed as a liaison. However, you haven't. So therefore, I'm asking that another liaison be appointed to us.
We're going to take that part under advisement. I'm not going to rule that.
I appreciate you coming to this meeting, and I appreciate you trying to put the fire to me, but I apologize if there was a miscommunication there, but the board has clearly discussed consolidation, at least from an administrative standpoint. It hasn't taken an official vote on that issue, but I think, going back, well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Because it's a town issue whether we like it or not, and we can't force anyone to do anything, but you can take a position on an issue, and it just, 3 districts the way we have it is just absolutely,
Prioritize
it seems absolutely absurd, and I think we should prioritize consolidation and adopt that as our policy,
But
but
not once did you people bring it up at a board meeting.
it has been brought up at a board meeting, and it was listed and discussed as part of the board goals, so it's not what you're trying to make it out to be, and I do regret any problem that it may have caused you, but I don't necessarily agree with any of your assessment of the situation. I do agree that I will try to be more careful in the future for the chair.
Yeah, and that's really 2 things to come in, and just hold on. First of all, the part, as Lucky has said, about the can't, there's no such thing as can't in my mind, but we cannot, we as a Board of Selectmen have no legal authority, that's why we started this meeting, to consolidate. So the Board of Selectmen cannot consolidate. Can we facilitate the idea of getting people together? But hang on. Now, so can we facilitate an idea of bringing various entities together for the common interest of people that we also serve? Absolutely. But facilitating something is going with a soft approach versus that sharp stick in the eye that Lucky mentioned earlier. So jumping to a conclusion and some of the additional comments probably makes it more difficult for us to bring groups together. When Kevin was asked regarding the study from the Leicester Water District, I'm a member of the Leicester Water District, so I've been there, but not as a selectman. I will say that the idea of bringing people together, of studying how we can mutually lower the cost and improve efficiencies, is much like talking about regional dispatch or other things. It's done long and slow and usually quietly. But if we start doing it as an announcement first, walls go up, bridges go up, and the very thing that you and I, in this case, agree would be in a panacea of world's a wonderful thing, makes it a lot longer road to hoe, because these kinds of walls go up. So as you mentioned, and I appreciate, to be more cautious, I would take that in mind. Because again, back to the rules and regs of the Board of Selectmen that you've received and we've gone over. We are not, meaning the Board of Selectmen, to make statements or promises on how we will vote on matters that will come before the board until we have had an opportunity to hear all the pros and cons of the issue during a board meeting. So the conclusion part of this is all that bothered me, Mike, to say the board has done or will do. I mean, I'm paraphrasing now, but I've seen the written text. It was very much a conclusion that we were consolidating versus, and it may be semantics, but sure was important as the phone lines melted.
Maybe the phone lines looked to melt on this issue, and I regret the error.
Anybody who saw it said, what do you mean, when did you have this meeting? When did you guys vote to do this?
There was a phone call that I received from Kevin after that meeting that he told me everything he felt about that meeting, which was that these guys were going to not go along with going forward with any type of consolidation discussions. So for that to come on...
Which he just said is not accurate.
Well, that's fantastic, that's accurate, but that's the information I'm working with. And
I'm asking Kevin right now. Kevin, did you ever tell us we were going to consolidate in that meeting?
I didn't say consolidate, no.
So where did he come up with this?
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, with the misinterpretations. Go ahead, Kevin.
I wanted to hear Kevin's.
So at that meeting, the consensus of the board to join a committee to explore the recommendations from the WPI study, there was one member that was in favor with voting that evening and two that weren't in favor with voting that evening. And that's
Of the study.
Of the study, that's right.
Of the study, not consolidation, which Mr. Civic brought out in here.
Yep.
And that's what's bothering everybody. It's bothering the town. As far as the town's concerned, Leicester Water District is holding up all consolidation. As far as the town's concerned, the town of Leicester is going to consolidate, because Mr. Civic said the Board of Selectmen is pushing for consolidation.
That was one of our stated goals. So I regret any problems that it caused you, and I will try to be more careful in the future, but I don't think it's a complete.
Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I did want to say is, you know, in his role as liaison, I have been to Hillcrest Water meeting with Mr. Shivik.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Kevin, just for clarification, how many water districts are there?
There are 4 water districts.
No, there's
Well, there's 3 active water districts in the Moose Hill Commission.
Okay, which is, okay.
Commission.
Hill Commission, okay, so there's 3 water districts, okay.
Yep.
And when we had that study done, we appreciated the study being done.
Yep.
And we were upfront about that. And we are also aware, although we don't have any control over the water districts, we're aware that there are problems, and they're very costly problems, okay? The state is aware of the problems, and they're very aware of how much it costs to them. And the water districts are facing fines and all kinds of things that are going on. Okay, am I correct, Kevin?
Yes.
So we felt, in terms of goals, that a good goal for this town would be, and we approved these goals, am I correct? And one of those goals would be to look at the possibility of getting the water districts together to see if we could come up with a solution. Collectively, okay? Collectively. But I can also say this, Kevin, and if I am wrong, correct me. It has been difficult to get everybody together to speak together collectively. Am I correct?
That's true.
And I guess that's where part of the frustration comes from. Because as a town person, not as a water district person, but you're here as a town person, you, I would think, would have to agree that there are some serious water issues in this town. And they are expensive ones.
Mm-hmm.
But they're expensive collectively to probably about the same tune as if everybody just takes care of their own issues individually. And so what we're looking at is the possibility of maybe getting the water districts together with an open mind to see if there's something that can be done, and maybe get the DEP to back off a little bit while it goes on. But there's no big discussion going on at this point, but it is certainly, I don't do, you know what, Lucky? I don't do Facebook for politics, and you know why? Because this is what goes on, okay? But I'm going to tell you, so let me finish. There is a problem, and that's why we're here. We're here to try to handle those problems. And sometimes it's better to be proactive rather than reactive, and this is one of these problems that has surfaced as a reactive because there's a serious issue, okay? And you know what? There's got to be a good solution for everybody. There's got to be.
I'm not saying there isn't, Tom. You're absolutely right. There should be a good solution for everybody. What Mike's going through is terrible right now. Unfortunately, I know Leicester can't help them out directly at this point. We just don't have the resources at this point because of our facility. However, it's not like we refused you. We've worked with you in the past on stuff. We work with Hillcrest. Hillcrest gets the majority of their water from us. Hillcrest, for the most part, is all Leicester Water District's help that does their work. Okay, so it's not like we don't work as a group. Every water district does work as a group when needed. But the statements put out on public media says, basically, it's enough to the time. Get a hold of all your commissioners. Phone them, tell them you want to do this. So, it was drawn from his comments, saying that the Board of Selectmen is behind the consolidation 100%. They're pushing it. Top
That's an absolute
priority
misrepresentation.
was from him. Top prioritized is Kevin.
Misrepresentation.
Huh?
It's a misrepresentation. Well, you're taking it and running with it.
All right, let's stop that a
Okay,
minute.
so that's what I have here to say.
Stop that for a minute.
No.
Harry, did you have something?
No.
Diana?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I don't use Facebook, I'm glad I don't use Facebook, but I do want to say for the water districts in town, and I've been here like the rest of us, our whole lives, okay? And they've been there for all of us in this town, whether we use water from the districts or not, but I learned this when I was very young. You guys are all your own entities. Mike's been down my old place when I needed water, when the place froze and stuff. He's helped out many a times. And the thing is I wish I could help you, but I can't. You're not part of the government here. You have your own government. Lucky you have your own government, okay? That is what you were all created for. It's up to you guys. We'll help if you ask us, but it's up to you guys to figure out how you want, if you want to consolidate. It is not the Board of Selectmen's job to tell you that you need to consolidate. If you ask us to help, we'll help you. If you need us to help coordinate things, we're more than happy to help you. Kevin, I'm sure we'll go out of his way. But that is up to you guys. That is not up to the Board of Selectmen. That is up to you guys to figure out what you want from us. We'll help any way we can. Am I wrong, Kevin?
No,
I think that should...
Diana is summed that up pretty well, and I will say that, again, our role, I can say this publicly because we've had these discussions, and our direction to the town administrator, although we may not have used the word, it was assigning the town administrator to work more as a super liaison or a mediator, to bring the parties together, to facilitate something. The one driving thing we had, like any good negotiation, we had something to bring to the table. Leicester, the town of Leicester, owns the water in Moose Hill. So as part of a whole kind of let's make a deal and see if we can bring people together, that's what we were bringing to the table. But really, it is the role of mediator, the role of facilitator amongst three separate government bodies to see if there is something that could be done. One last piece for me with a bit of history is, what's always been the dilemma is, Michael gave much more technical things than I could give or halfway digest, but I get it, and I appreciate it, Michael. But at the same time, lucky you know that one of the biggest driving forces against bringing the groups together over history has been the fact that each group had its own process, its own billing, and literally its own cost. So if the cost of Michael's Henshaw water as an open source versus Leicester water supply was so different, then the people of Leicester are saying, well, why should I pay for the repairs in Henshaw and so on? A very simplistic approach, but that's the practical reasons. Mm-hmm. The thing that I found optimistic in the town administrator is saying that he wouldn't mind trying to facilitate some discussions after the WPI study, and with knowledge that the cost of water has become purely liquid gold, then the idea is maybe that liquid gold we have up at Moose Hill, which was not cost effective to work before, maybe there's a way of making this work for everybody. That's as far as it's gone. I agree that people, whether they heard the words or not, reading Mr. Shivak's words were enough to say, what are you guys doing? And that's where, again, I appreciate you've got to be more careful, and you've said so. Because we're not doing anything. We're bringing it up as a board now. We brought it up to say, town administrator, facilitate, talk. Is there something we can do? Pretty much that's it. Does anybody on the board, first of all, disagree with my summary of what we've directed the town administrator to do?
No. The prior summary, yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, and that's all. And that's really our role, and as a member of your district, separate hat, I understand the differences. And as once, a long time ago, a commissioner down there with Michael,